AITA for letting my parents pay their own bills after they kicked me out? I am 28, and this is the story of how my entitled family thought they could use me as their personal ATM forever. Spoiler alert, they were dead wrong. Before I get into the craziest details, let me set the scene of my childhood. I grew up in a middle-class family in a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio. My father, Stephen, worked in construction and made about $48,000 a year, and my mother, Linda, was a stay-at-home mom who spent more time on social media than actually taking care of anything. My older brother, Justin, is 6 years my senior and was the golden child from day one. I am not talking about normal sibling rivalry here. I am talking about completely different treatment, as if we belonged to two different species. Justin got a PlayStation 2 for $320 the day it came out. I got an old, broken Game Boy Color that Justin had thrown down the stairs. Justin got new Nike shoes every school year. I got his old, hole-ridden sneakers that I had to stuff with newspaper. But the worst part was the bedroom. Justin had this huge room at the front of the house with 2 windows, a walk-in closet, and enough space for all his stuff. I got the tiny room next to the bathroom that used to be a storage closet. I am not even kidding. There were still shelves screwed to the wall when I moved in. My bed was an old twin mattress that felt like sleeping on concrete. When I asked my parents why Justin got that room, my dad just shrugged and said, "He's older. He needs more space." My mother, Linda, would roll her eyes and say, "Stop being jealous, Mason. Not everything has to be fair." But what really got to me was not just the material things. In their eyes, Justin could do no wrong. He failed 3 classes in his sophomore year of high school. He's just bored. School is not challenging enough for him. He got caught smoking behind the gym. Boys will be boys. At least he is not on hard drugs. Meanwhile, if I forgot to take out the trash just once, I would get a whole lecture about responsibility. The worst part was watching my mother, Linda, constantly dote on Justin. She would cook his favorite meals, do his laundry, and even clean his room for him. The woman treated him like a prince. Looking back, I realized she was basically training him to expect women to wait on him hand and foot. A very healthy upbringing. My father, Stephen, was just as bad, but in a different way. He worked long hours in construction, came home exhausted, and just went along with whatever Linda said. He never stood up for me or questioned why everything revolved around Justin. I think he was just too tired to fight. The only bright spot in my teenage years was meeting my buddy Jake in my freshman year of high school. This guy was hilarious and had absolutely no filter, which was exactly what I needed in my life. He came from a normal family where both parents worked and all the kids had to pitch in with chores. The first time he came over to my house and saw how Justin was treated, he was shocked. "Bro, your brother is 20 and your mom is still cutting his food for him," he said one day after dinner. "That's not normal, man. My mom would have kicked me out by now if I acted like that." He became my reality check. He would point out all the ridiculous things my family did that I had just accepted as normal. Like when Justin got a brand new mountain bike for his birthday and I got a $10 Subway gift card. Jake's reaction was, "Dude, that is seriously messed up. Your parents are so obviously playing favorites." The funny thing about Jake was that he had a way of joking that cut right to the truth. He started calling Justin his Royal Highness, and my mom, the Royal Bootlicker. My dad he called the ATM, because all he did was work and give his money to Linda to spend on Justin. "Mason, you are living in a monarchy where you are the peasant," he told me one day. "Your brother is the prince, your mom is the queen, and your dad is just the guy who pays for everything." Jake was also the one who opened my eyes to how problematic my mother was. She was obsessed with appearances and status symbols. She would brag to the neighbors about Justin's achievements, like graduating high school with a 2.3 grade point average, while never mentioning anything I did. When I made the honor roll, she did not even post it on social media. But when Justin got a part-time job at GameStop, which he quit after 2 weeks, she posted about it like he had won the Nobel Prize. "Your mom is a user who married your dad for his paycheck," Jake would say bluntly. "And now she is raising Justin to be just like her, lazy and entitled." Jake would sometimes come over to my house just to observe the circus that was my family dynamic. He would sit at the dinner table with us, watching Linda serve Justin like a king while I had to get my own food, and then just shake his head in disbelief. It is like watching a nature documentary about dysfunctional families, he would tell me later. Your family operates on a completely different set of rules than normal people. After high school, I got a job at a local auto repair shop as a mechanic's assistant. The pay started at $13 an hour, which was not great. But I was learning a trade and working with my hands, and honestly, I loved it. There is something satisfying about fixing things that are broken. Plus, the guys at the shop treated me with more respect than my own family ever had. My manager, an old-school mechanic who had been working on cars for 30 years, took me under his wing. He taught me everything from simple oil changes to complex transmission repairs. "Mason," he would tell me, "you have got good hands for this work. Stick with it, and you will make a decent living." It was the first time in my life an adult had said something genuinely encouraging about my abilities. Meanwhile, Justin was 24 and still living at home, doing absolutely nothing. His daily routine was like clockwork: sleep until 2 in the afternoon, stumble downstairs in his boxers, eat whatever Linda had made for him, then plop down on the couch for 8 hours of video games. After dinner, which Linda would literally bring to him on the couch, he would shower and go out with his friends until 3 in the morning. Then he would repeat the exact same thing the next day, and my parents just let it happen. Linda always had an excuse for anyone who asked why Justin did not have a job. "He is exploring his options," she would say, or "he is waiting for the right opportunity." My Aunt Carol once asked Justin directly at a family barbecue what his plans were, and he just shrugged before replying, "I am taking some time to find my passion." The guy was 24 years old and talking about finding his passion like he was some kind of spiritual guru. Jake was there for that conversation and nearly choked on his soda from laughing. Later, he told me, "Your brother's passion is living off others without contributing. And frankly, he has already mastered it." That is when Linda started asking me for money. At first, it was small and reasonable. "Mason, can you contribute $200 a month for groceries since you are eating here?" That made sense to me. I was living at home and eating their food. Then it became $350 for household expenses. Then $550 because times are tough. Each increase came with some sob story about how the cost of living was going up and they were struggling to make ends meet. But here's what really got me. The expenses only seemed to go up whenever Justin wanted something. A new gaming console? Suddenly, the electric bill was higher and they needed more money. Justin wanted to join a gym? Whoops, the car insurance went up. Could I cover the difference? It was like Linda had a magical ability to invent new expenses every time Justin had a new desire. By the time I was 21, I was giving $850 of my $1,500 monthly paycheck to my parents. I was paying for groceries, bills, Justin's car insurance, and even the premium cable package so he could watch sports on television. Meanwhile, Justin was contributing exactly $0 to the household. Jake watched this all happen and got more and more upset each month. "Dude, at this point, you are literally supporting his entire lifestyle," he told me. "You are funding his whole way of living while he sits around doing nothing playing video games. Do you realize your brother has never had a real job? Like ever?" And he was right. Justin had worked for exactly 2 weeks at a movie theater when he was 16. Then he quit because he did not like the uniform. That was the extent of his work experience. Jake's breaking point came when he found out that Justin had gotten a credit card in my dad's name and racked up $3,200 in debt buying stupid stuff online. Gaming equipment, overpriced headphones, clothes he never wore, useless electronics, just impulsive purchases because he was bored. The credit card company had been calling my dad for weeks before he finally figured out what had happened. And instead of making Justin pay it back or face any consequences, Linda asked me to help pay off the card. "Are you out of your mind?" Jake exploded when I told him. "Justin commits credit card fraud, and you are the one who has to pay it back? Mason, your family is literally taking advantage of you." But I was so used to it all that it almost seemed normal. Jake started calling our apartment. We were living together by then, Mason's ATM, because every month, my family would financially drain me with their so-called emergencies. The worst part was how Linda would frame her requests. She never just asked for money. She always made it seem like I was being selfish if I said no. "Mason, we are a family. Families help each other. You do not want to see your brother struggle, do you? Or she would get super emotional. I raised my boys to take care of each other. Don't you love your brother? Struggle from what exactly? He was living rent-free, bill-free, and responsibility-free, while I was working 50 hours a week. And love my brother? What was there to love? The guy who never said thank you, never acknowledged that I was funding his lifestyle, and treated me like I was his personal bank account. I remember one particularly annoying conversation where Linda tried to explain Justin's situation to me. Mason, you have to understand. Justin is creative. Creative people cannot just work any old job. They have to find their calling. You are more practical. You are good at fixing things. Working with your hands. Justin needs time to discover his artistic side. His artistic side? The guy's only creative talent was coming up with incredibly elaborate excuses for why he could not work. I am overqualified for entry-level positions, but do not have enough experience for senior roles. Or my personal favorite, I am waiting for a job that aligns with my energy and my vibe. Jake overheard this explanation and looked at Linda like she had just grown a second head. Ma'am, your son is 25. At some point, even creative people have to pay their bills. When I was 24, I got promoted to head mechanic and started making $24 an hour. A good salary for someone without a college degree. But instead of being happy for me, Linda saw dollar signs in her eyes. Mason, now that you are making more money, we are going to need you to contribute more to the household. She told me the very next day after I shared my promotion news. No congratulations. No, we are proud of you. Just an immediate demand for more cash. She wanted me to start paying $1,300 a month. After taxes, that would have left me with maybe $450 for my own expenses. When I hesitated, Linda went completely ballistic. You are so selfish, Mason. We raised you. We fed you. We kept a roof over your head. And this is how you thank us? Your brother needs support while he finds his path in life. His path in life. Justin was 30 and had never held a job for more than a month. His path was being a professional parasite. Jake was there when Linda came to our apartment to discuss my new financial contributions. She pulled up in Justin's car, which I was paying the insurance on, carrying a new designer bag and sporting fake nails that probably cost $120. Mason, sweetie, she said in that sickly sweet voice of hers. Family takes care of family. You do not want your poor brother to struggle, do you? Jake could not help himself. Struggle from what? Exactly. He is 30 years old and does not have a job. How is that Mason's problem? Linda turned to him with a look of contempt. This is family business. You would not understand. I understand that you are taking advantage of Mason to support your lazy son, Jake shot back. This is not a family, it is an exploitation. And then, Linda's mask completely fell off. Justin has potential. He just needs time to find the right opportunity. Mason is good with his hands. Manual labor suits him. Justin is destined for greater things. It was in that moment that I knew Jake had been right about her all along. She saw me as nothing more than a dumb worker bee and Justin as some kind of future chief executive officer. In her mind, I was supposed to fund Justin's lifestyle forever while he found himself. The conversation got more and more heated. Linda listed all the reasons why Justin was special and different, while basically describing me as a blue-collar loser whose only purpose in life was to financially support his brother's dreams. She even said that some people are born to work while others are born to lead, and I should be grateful to have a purpose. And what exactly is Justin leading? Jake asked. A guild on World of Warcraft. Linda got even more upset. Justin is intellectually gifted. He is just waiting for the right opportunity to showcase his talents. Not everyone can be content with getting their hands dirty for minimum wage. It is not minimum wage, I said. I make a decent living. Decent for what you do, Linda replied with an incredibly condescending tone. But Justin has the potential to make real money. Executive-level money. He just needs his family's support while he positions himself for success. Jake was just sitting there, taking notes on his phone. This is pure gold, he whispered to me. I am documenting this insanity for posterity. What really struck me was how Linda talked about my job as if it was inferior to Justin's. Yet, I was good at what I did. I could diagnose engine problems that stumped other mechanics. I could rebuild an entire transmission from scratch. But in Linda's mind, working with my hands made me less valuable than Justin, who had accomplished literally nothing in his life. You know what your problem is, Linda? Jake finally said. You think Justin is going to be your meal ticket. You are betting everything on him striking it rich one day so you can live in luxury. But newsflash. He is 30 and his biggest achievement is reaching level 80 in a video game. You know nothing about my son's potential, Linda snapped. I know he has never held a job, never paid a bill, and never taken any responsibility. That is not potential, that is learned helplessness. Linda stood up to leave, but Jake was not finished. And another thing, Mason does not owe you or Justin anything. He has been financially supporting your household for years while Justin contributes nothing. You should be thanking Mason, not demanding more money from him. Mason knows his responsibilities to this family, Linda said coldly. What about Justin's responsibilities? Jake asked. Or do those not exist? Linda did not answer. She just stormed out, slamming the door to our apartment so hard the windows rattled. After she left, Jake and I sat in silence for a minute. Then Jake said something that really hit home. Dude, she does not see you as her son. She sees you as Justin's employee. And Justin does not see you as his brother. He sees you as his personal ATM. You are not family to them. You are just a resource to be exploited. That night, I could not sleep. I kept replaying what Jake had said, and I realized he was right. Every interaction with my family was transactional. Linda only called when she needed money. Justin only talked to me when he wanted something. My dad only seemed to notice I existed when bills were due. I started paying more attention to how my family treated me compared to how they treated Justin. When Justin wanted something, it became a family discussion about how to get it for him. When I needed something, I was told to figure it out on my own. Justin's wants were family priorities. My needs were my own problem. And the really twisted part was how Linda always spun it to make me feel guilty. She would say things like, family takes care of family. Or we all have to make sacrifices for each other. But funny enough, Justin never had to sacrifice anything. It was always me who had to give something up, me who had to work more hours. Me who had to go without so Justin could have what he wanted. Things got really bad when I turned 26. Justin was dating a girl named Macy who was basically his female counterpart, entitled, lazy, and expensive. Linda loved her because she thought Macy was classy. She worked part-time at a nail salon and drove a BMW her dad had bought her. Macy was everything Linda thought she deserved in a daughter-in-law. She dressed well, spoke with a fake, posh accent, and knew how to play the game. She would compliment Linda's cooking, ask about her day, and pretend Justin was this amazing catch. Linda ate it up. Finally, Justin has found someone who appreciates his qualities. Linda would tell anyone who would listen. Macy sees his potential. What Macy really saw was a guy whose family paid for everything. She never paid for dates, never pitched in for gifts, and never even offered to split a restaurant bill. Why would she? Justin's family, meaning me, was already covering all the expenses. Then, Justin decided he wanted to propose to Macy with a $4,500 engagement ring. Not just any ring. It had to be from a fancy jewelry store downtown because Macy had mentioned she only wore quality pieces. Of course, Justin had exactly $0 in savings for this purchase. And guess who Linda thought should pay for it? Mason. This is so important for Justin's future. She explained as she pitched the idea to me. Macy comes from a good family. This could really help Justin make connections and get a good job. I just stared at her. How is me buying his girlfriend a ring going to help Justin get a job? Her father owns several businesses. If Justin marries this girl, he will be connected. This ring is an investment in Justin's future. So, if I was understanding this correctly, I was supposed to spend $4,500 of my hard-earned money so Justin could propose to a girl whose dad might eventually give him a job. That was Linda's business plan. I told her there was absolutely no way I was paying for Justin's engagement ring. And that is when Linda showed me exactly what kind of person she really was. Fine, she sneered. Be selfish. But do not come crying to us when you are old and alone with no family. Justin will remember who supported him. And so will Macy. You are ruining your relationship with your future sister-in-law over money. She even tried to guilt-trip me by saying I was just jealous that Justin had found love and that I was sabotaging his happiness because I was single. I am not sabotaging anything, I replied. If Justin wants to propose to someone, he can get a job and save up for a ring like every other man on this planet. Do not you get it? Linda said, getting more agitated. Macy has certain standards. She is used to nice things. If Justin proposes with a cheap ring, it will reflect poorly on our whole family. Reflect what? Exactly. That we are normal people who do not spend thousands of dollars we do not have on jewelry. Linda looked at me like I had just said something incredibly stupid. Mason, image is everything. When you are trying to move up in the world, you have to look the part. All of Macy's friends have expensive engagement rings. Justin cannot look poor next to them. Jake was with me during this conversation and just started laughing. Ma'am, you want your son to get married into money, but you cannot even afford the ring. What kind of backward family is this? Linda was so furious she started screaming. Justin deserves better than this. He deserves a family that supports his dreams. Mason, you are making good money now, and you are just being greedy, hoarding it all for yourself. Greedy. I had been financially supporting this household for 5 years. I paid for Justin's car insurance, his food, his entertainment, everything. How was I greedy for refusing to also buy his engagement ring? Because he is your brother. Linda shrieked. And this is important. This could change his whole life. His dreams of doing nothing while his little brother pays for everything? Jake asked. Wow, what an ambitious dream. That night, Jake and I were eating pizza when he said something that changed everything. Mason, you know they are never going to stop, right? Next, it will be Justin's wedding, then a down payment on a house. Then his future kids' college fund. They will take advantage of you until there is nothing left. And he was right. I was 26 years old with no savings, no car. I rode a motorcycle to work. And no future because every spare dime I made went to funding Justin's lifestyle. You know what you have to do, right? Jake said. You have to cut them off. Cold turkey. Let them figure out how to pay for Justin's ring themselves. But I was scared. These people had conditioned me since childhood to believe I owed them everything. That questioning their demands made me selfish and ungrateful. The very idea of saying no to Linda felt impossible. What if they are right? I asked Jake. What if I am being selfish? Jake looked at me like I had just grown a second head. Dude, you have been paying their bills for 5 years while your 30-year-old brother sits around doing nothing. If that is selfish, then I am the Pope. The final blow came when Linda showed up at the auto repair shop where I worked. She cornered me during my lunch break in front of my coworkers and started a whole scene about how I was abandoning my family and being cruel to my brother. Mason, people are going to think our family does not support each other, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. What kind of brother does not help with his own brother's engagement? My manager had to ask her to leave, and I was mortified. My coworkers were looking at me like I was some kind of deadbeat who would not help his own family. Linda had made me look like the bad guy in front of people who respected me. That is when I knew I had to leave. That weekend, Jake and I drove 3 hours to Columbus and found an apartment. I put in my 2 weeks' notice at the garage, got a job at a bigger auto repair shop. Then I told my parents I was done. Done with what? Linda asked when I broke the news. Done paying for Justin's life. Done being your ATM. Done being treated like my only value is how much money I can bring to this family. Linda's face went through about 5 different emotions. Shock, anger, denial, and then back to anger. You cannot do this, Mason. We depend on you. Justin depends on you. Then maybe Justin should get a job. You know Justin cannot just work anywhere. He has standards. Yeah, well, so do I. And my standards do not include paying for the engagement ring of a grown man who has never worked a day in his life. For the first few months after I left, my family tried everything to get me to come back. Linda would call crying about how much they missed me. Translation, they missed my money. Stephen would call to say I was abandoning my family and that real men take care of their responsibilities. The first call came 2 days after I moved. Linda was crying so hard I could barely understand what she was saying. Mason, please come home. We can work this out. Justin does not really need a ring that expensive. We can find a cheaper one. It is not about the ring, Linda. It is about everything. I am not coming back. But what about the bills? The mortgage? Mason, We cannot afford everything without your help. Then Justin needs to get a job. He is 30 years old. You know, Justin is not ready for that kind of pressure. He is sensitive. He needs support, not demands. Sensitive. The guy who yelled during video games for 6 hours a day was sensitive. But the best part was Justin. He actually had the nerve to call me and say, "Mason, this is totally messing up my timeline. Macy is expecting a proposal soon, and you are ruining everything." Jake was listening to the conversation on speakerphone and just burst out laughing. "Dude, get a job and buy your own ring." "I am not built for normal jobs," Justin replied. "I am more of an entrepreneur. I am working on a few business ideas." "What business ideas?" I asked. "Well, I am thinking of maybe starting a YouTube channel or something. Or maybe an online store. I just need some startup capital." "Startup capital for what exactly?" "I do not know yet. I am still in the research phase. But there is a lot of money to be made online if you know what you are doing." Jake and I were dying of laughter. A 30-year-old man with no job experience was going to become a YouTube star to pay for an engagement ring. "Justin, how long have you been researching these business ideas?" I asked. "A couple of weeks. But I have been thinking about entrepreneurship for a while. I just need the right opportunity." Justin's 2 weeks of research consisted of watching YouTube videos on how to get rich online and reading get-rich-quick articles. His business plan was essentially, Step 1, start a business. Step 2, get rich. Meanwhile, without my $1,300 a month, my parents' finances completely fell apart. They could not make their mortgage payments. Their utilities got shut off twice. And Justin's car got repossessed because they could not make the payments. Linda had to get a job for the first time in 15 years, working at Target for $12 an hour. She was furious and blamed me for forcing her to work. She even made social media posts about ungrateful children who abandon their families, complete with crying emojis. Honestly, those social media posts were hilarious. Linda would write dramatic things like, "Some children forget all the sacrifices their parents made for them," or "Money changes people, even your own kids." Jake would screenshot them and send them to me with his own commentary. "Check this one out," he texted me one day. "A mother's heart breaks when her child chooses greed over family. Ma'am, your son is 30 and unemployed. Where is his family loyalty?" Justin and Macy eventually broke up because he could no longer afford to take her anywhere or buy her things. Apparently, she told him he was too old to be living at home with no job. Then she left him for a guy who owned a car dealership. The breakup sent Justin into a complete tailspin. He called me crying, literally crying, saying I had destroyed his relationship. "Macy left me because I could not afford the ring she wanted," he sobbed. "She said she cannot see a future with someone who does not have his life together." "Justin, you are 30 and you have never had a job. Your life is not together." "But I was working on it. I had plans. If you had not abandoned the family, I could have proposed and figured out the rest later." "Figured out what?" "Exactly. How to pay for a wedding. How to support a wife. Were you going to have kids and expect me to pay for them, too?" Justin was silent for a minute. Then he said something that truly showed how out of touch with reality he was. "I thought we were a family. I thought families helped each other achieve their dreams." "What about my dreams, Justin? When has anyone in that family ever cared about what I wanted?" "That is different. You are good at working. You like your job. I like my job, yes. But I also like having money saved for my own future. I like being able to buy myself things sometimes." "But you are making good money now. You do not need all of it." That was Justin's logic. Because I was making a decent living, I did not need all my money. Anything I did not absolutely need should go to funding his lifestyle. Jake and I were keeping up with all this drama through my dad, who would call me every few weeks to give me family updates. He did not ask for money. I think deep down, he was proud that I had finally stood up for myself. He just wanted me to know what was going on. "Your mother is getting a real reality check," Stephen told me one day. "She has been complaining that her feet hurt from standing all day at Target." And I told her, "Now you know how Mason felt working 50 hours a week to pay our bills." "And Justin, how is he handling the real world?" I asked. Stephen sighed. "Not well. He has applied for a few jobs, but keeps getting rejected. Apparently, employers want people with experience and basic skills. After the third rejection, he declared that the job market is rigged against creative people. Justin tried several jobs, but he could not keep any of them. He got fired from a fast food place for being late 3 times in his first week. He quit a warehouse job after one day because it was too physical and the supervisor was mean to him. He was let go from a retail store because he kept arguing with customers who did not want to hear his opinions on their purchases. He is finding out that the real world does not care about his potential, my dad said. Turns out, employers mostly want people who will actually work. The best story Steven told me was about Justin's interview at a local office supply store. Justin showed up 20 minutes late, wearing jeans and a wrinkled t-shirt. When the manager asked about his work experience, Justin said he was overqualified for entry-level roles, but would consider working there temporarily while he pursued his entrepreneurial ventures. The manager asked what kind of entrepreneurial ventures, and Justin launched into an explanation about his future YouTube channel. He spent 10 minutes explaining how he was going to make money playing video games online. The manager just stared at him. Justin, obviously, did not get that job either. Meanwhile, Linda was struggling immensely with her new reality. She had never held a real job and was finding out just how hard it was. She would come home from Target exhausted, complaining about customers, managers, and coworkers. She keeps saying it is not fair. Steven told me that she should not have to be working at her age, that Justin needs time to find himself, that you are cruel for not helping the family. But I finally told her the truth. What truth? That she created this mess, that she spoiled Justin so much he is incapable of functioning as an adult, and that she treated you so badly you had every right to leave. I told her if she wants someone to blame, she should look in the mirror. It was the first time in my entire life that Steven had ever criticized Linda's parenting or admitted that the way I was treated was unfair. It felt good to hear, even if it was about 10 years too late. 2 years later, my life was going great. I had gotten my master mechanic certification and was making $68,000 a year. Jake and I had saved up enough money to buy a house together as roommates and partners. I was even dating an amazing woman named Samantha, who was a nurse. Life was good. That is when Linda called me for the first time in months. But this time, it was not a guilt trip. It was a call of desperation. Mason, I know we have had our differences, but we really need your help, she said, and I could hear the panic in her voice. It turned out that Justin had been arrested for an incident involving auto parts at the shop where I used to work. He thought he could sell them online for some quick cash. He was caught on the security cameras and was now facing serious legal charges. He needs a good lawyer. Mason, a decent lawyer costs $18,000 just for the retainer. We do not have that kind of money. I put the call on speaker so Jake could hear. He was in the kitchen making popcorn. What about all that money you were saving by not having me support you anymore? I asked. Please, Mason, he is your brother. He made a mistake, but he does not deserve to go to prison. Actually, taking auto parts without permission is exactly the kind of thing that leads to serious legal consequences. Jake called out from the kitchen. Linda started crying. Mason, I know I was not always fair to you. I know I favored Justin. But please, we need your help. Justin has learned his lesson. What lesson? Exactly. He is 32 years old and involved in this kind of situation. That is not a mistake. That is just who he is. Then she said the words I had waited my whole life to hear. You were right about Justin. You were right about everything. I should have made him get a job years ago instead of babying him. Jake came in with his popcorn, smiling. Linda, let me ask you a question, I said. When I was working 50 hours a week to pay for Justin's car insurance, were you thinking about fairness then? No. And when I asked for help buying work boots and you told me money was tight, but then spent $600 on video games for Justin that same week, were you thinking about fairness? Mason, please. When you told me I was built for manual labor while Justin was destined for greater things, were you thinking about how that made me feel? She was sobbing now. I am sorry, Mason. I am so sorry. I was wrong about everything. Here is what is going to happen, I replied. Justin is going to face the legal consequences. Because that is what happens when you cross these lines. You are going to keep working at Target. Because that is what adults do. And I am going to keep living my life without any of you in it. But he is your brother. No. A brother does not let his sibling pay for his entire life while he does nothing. A brother does not get involved in situations like this at the shop where his brother used to work. Justin is just a guy who used to live in the same house as me. Mason, what if I pay you back? What if I work overtime and send you money every month until I have paid back every dime you gave us? I almost laughed. Linda, you make $12 an hour at Target. At that rate, it would take you about 15 years to pay me back. And that is if you gave me every penny you earned. I will do it. I will work 2 jobs, 3 if I have to. The time to make things right was years ago, not now that Justin has finally gotten himself into this situation. I hung up the phone and blocked their number. Jake was applauding with his mouth full of popcorn. 6 months later, I heard from my dad that Justin had been sentenced to 2 years in prison. Linda had to take on a second job cleaning offices at night to pay for the legal fees. And even then, she could not afford a good lawyer. So Justin ended up with a public defender who barely put up a fight for him. My dad also told me that Linda had finally understood what Jake and I had been saying all along. She had created a monster by spoiling Justin, and now she was paying the price. She cries every night, Stephen told me, not just because Justin is in prison, but because she lost you. She keeps saying she sacrificed her good son to protect the bad one. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.